Hi guys, welcome to another YouTube video. Today we are going to work on this timer decorator kata, which will validate if a function it decorates is executed within a given second, and it will return a true or false depending on how long that function runs. Decorator is a function that extends the behavior of an existing function without actually modifying it. So we can do this because in Python, function is just like any other object that can be used as an argument of another function, or it can also be returned as a result of a function. Let's take a look at a very simple example. So let's define our decorator, and this decorator will take in a function which we will call func, and inside this decorator we will define the let's call it a wrapper, and it will not take into any argument right now, but it will return or let's just say do a very simple print hello. And then in order for the decorator to work, we will have to return the wrapper function. So this is basically how you would like the basic structure of a decorator. We have the decorator here, and then inside we have an inner function that we can define to modify any function that we like. So in this example, we are not doing anything, but just print a hello. And then at the end, we will just return the function, the name of the inner function itself. So let's try this out. Since we already have this decorator, we can this is this syntax to decorate any function. So let's decorate this test function, right? This function will not do anything. We just pass. So now let's call test and see what it does. So test will actually print hello here. So what this does is that in the background, it will assign the test function here to the result of this decorator, and the result of this decorator, like, it will return the wrapper function. So basically this decorator is making test equal to the wrapper function when it does like this. So since test equal to the wrapper function, when we call test, it will basically call the wrapper, which would print hello. This is how decoration works. So if you look at the name property of the test, you can see that it is actually the wrapper function. So the decorator actually pointing the test function to the wrapper function inside the decorator. So let's come back to our kata, where we have to define a decorator that will just time a function to see if it runs longer than a given seconds. So in order to do that, we have to we can import something from the time module. So let's say from time import perf counter. So this perf counter is just a way to get the number of seconds when we call it. Let's say we do perf counter start one equal to this, and let's call. So this is the number of seconds. So what I'm trying to do is that between start, or let's just go start, and then end equal, and then in between we have this function, whatever we're gonna call it, right? The function that we are going to decorate, and then we just time the start of before we run it, and then the end after we run the function. At the end, we can just use like the difference between end and start, and then we can get the length of the function's time. So let's define that function right now. So let's def our timer function, this one. So we're gonna indent this. So let's not take any argument for now. This function will be the like if you take a look at the decorator. So obviously we're going to do our decorator here, and it will take in the function, right? Func. So remember how we define the decorator up here. So we're gonna do the same here. Indent this, and this decorator will return timer function, right? And this timer function we will have to return. This is what we want to learn, right? So we will return n minus start, and if it's less than a given time, let's say here 5 seconds, it will return true. If not, it will return false. So this is our most basic decorator, and then let's run this and see how it works, and then we can add more of the add more arguments to this decorator, and then add more of the and try to solve the kata itself. This decorator will decorate a function in its timer function right here. It will try to time how long it takes for the function to run, and it will return true or false if it's less than 5 seconds. So I'm gonna import sleep as well. So let's try decorator, and then here we can just def a test function as before, and we can do sleep 0.1 seconds. Okay, so this is, and then now we can call the test and see if it return. Okay, so it returned true. So it means our decorator works for this. However, right now it only works if we pass it directly in this variable right now, like the 5 seconds. So we want this to be a variable, right? So our decorator would be something like it will get a variable, a limit, and then we can just pass in like a number 1 or 2 or 3. So it can be more flexible. So in order to do that, obviously we have to have a way to for a decorator to accept an argument. We can do that by nesting another function outside of this decorator, right? So let's call def main. I'm gonna indent this function, and this main will take a limit. Actually, let's call this decorator, then let's call this main, right? So we don't get confused. So this decorator, what it does is just it will just return the main function. So it will point to this function right here. The decorator limit will point to this function. This main will take in the func, which is this test right here. We'll take in the func. It will and then it will point to the timer function inside. So there's like 2 levels, like it's nesting 2 functions inside the decorator. So since we can get we have the limit argument here, we can just use that as in the return part of the timer function we have right here. So now let's say let's do 1 second, and test we can do 1.1, right? So let's try. So okay, so our decorator worked. So actually this looks like our it's pretty good. I think this can be our solution to the kata problem right now. It will just check to see if it will decorate any function here, and check to see if that function runs between within a limit time. So however, since this test, it doesn't take it into any argument, what if we want to be even more flexible, instead of hard coding the number of seconds itself to sleep, we can pass it in like a an argument, right? So let's say sec here. So when we call test, we can do 1 or 2 or 3, right? So we want it to be, the more generalized our code is the better. So how do we take this into account, right? When we want to decorate a function with this argument, like any number of argument. So in order to do that, this timer function right here, we can use this star args, which just means like we take any number of argument, and inside the func, we also do star arguments, star args like this. So when we call this timer function, it will take in the number of seconds that we pass in. So let's test. Decorator is still 1. And then test we can do 0.1. Okay, so it's true. So this test run in 0.1 seconds, and obviously it's less than 1 second. So this is way better now. We can actually submit this function. So let's summarize. When we have a decorator like this, and when we call the function itself, this is equivalent to when we call decorator 1, right? This test would actually point to the main function. So this is actually the main function right here, main of the test 0.1. So main actually has the argument of the function that we are calling. So this is the test on the test function that we have right here, and this is equivalent to, it will eventually comes into the innermost function where we are doing the work, right? So it will be timer function of the argument we pass in, which is 0.1 here, 0.1, and any other arguments we pass in from the outer layers will be used in this timer function right here. So let's take a look at the test.name and see what is the test. So so test will eventually be evaluated to be the timer function. We can see, you know, the progression of and how the inner background of the decorator works. It will just, you know, since each function will return the inner function, when we call the decorator function, it will just be evaluated to the you know, the inner return value each time we call it. So this is the way I think this makes it very easier to understand decorator. So hopefully this makes sense, and let me know in the comment if this if you know, this is understandable. And let's try on this code on our on the kata. So here we have our timer limits here. Timer, we can test it. Oh, I need to import perfkata from time. I mean, there are a lot of ways to time a function. You can use time itself as well, but I just like to use this. And okay, so everything works. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like this video. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.